Alright, let's dive into something that's been blowing up in the sports world lately, the WNBA's latest culture war. And trust me, it's not just about basketball anymore. It's about identity, media, and the power dynamics between athletes, teams, and outlets. So, buckle up, because this is a wild ride. Here's the spark that lit the fire. Sophie Cunningham, a WNBA player, made a comment about wanting to protect young girls in a locker room from biological men. Boom. Instant controversy. Personally, I think what makes this really interesting is how quickly it spiraled into a full-blown media storm. It's not just about Cunningham's words, it's about what those words represent in a broader cultural debate. And let's be real, the WNBA has always been at the forefront of social issues, so this isn't surprising. But the intensity. That's next level. Now, here's where it gets messy. Cunningham's comments weren't just picked up by sports outlets, they were amplified by conservative media, particularly OutKick and Fox News. And this is where I have to pause and say, the WNBA has historically been undercovered by mainstream media. So, when outlets like OutKick start zeroing in on the league, it's not just about reporting. It's about framing the narrative. What many people don't realize is that this isn't just a story about transgender rights or locker room policies. It's a story about who gets to tell the story. And that's a power play. Speaking of power plays, let's talk about the team's responses. Multiple WNBA teams have denied credentials to OutKick reporters. Now, on the surface, it looks like they're shutting down a biased narrative. But if you take a step back and think about it, this is also about control. The WNBA's media policy gives teams discretion over who gets access. So, by rejecting OutKick, teams are essentially saying, we don't want your angle in our space. And that's a bold move. In my opinion, it's a way for the league to protect its players and its message, but it also raises questions about media freedom and bias. What's fascinating to me is how this connects to a bigger trend in sports. Athletes are increasingly using their platforms to speak out on social issues, and leagues are having to navigate that. The WNBA, in particular, has always been progressive, but this situation feels different. It's not just about taking a stand, it's about managing a media landscape that's more polarized than ever. One thing that immediately stands out is how quickly this went from a player's comment to a full-blown culture war. It's a reminder that in today's world, every word is scrutinized, and every statement can become a battleground. Now, let's talk about the players. Caitlin Clark, Cunningham's teammate, deflected when asked about the issue. Smart move? Maybe. But it also highlights the pressure players are under to either take a side or stay silent. Personally, I think this is where the real story lies, in the tension between personal beliefs and public expectations. Athletes are human, and they are being asked to navigate incredibly complex issues in real time. What this really suggests is that we need to give them more space to be nuanced, to be uncertain, to be human. And then there's the media's role. OutKick and Fox News aren't just reporting on this, they're weaponizing it. They're using the WNBA as a proxy for a larger cultural debate. What makes this really interesting is how the league is pushing back. By denying credentials, they are saying, we won't be used as a pawn in your game. But here's the thing, in doing so, they are also becoming part of the game. It's a no-win situation, and that's what makes it so compelling. So, where does this leave us? The WNBA has 13 more games before the end of the regular season, and this story isn't going away. In fact, it's probably just getting started. From my perspective, this is about more than just one comment or one media outlet. It's about the future of sports as a platform for social change. And that's a conversation we all need to be having. Here's my closing thought. the WNBA has always been more than just a basketball league. It's been a space for women to challenge norms, to fight for equality, and to push boundaries. This latest culture war is just another chapter in that story. But what it really forces us to ask is, who gets to define what that story means? And who gets to control how it's told? Those are questions that go far beyond the court, and they're questions we're all going to have to answer.